happen?
Hello and welcome to That's So Craven, your number one source for all Fulham content. It's Dave here, and today we're going to be looking forward to West Ham away. It's going to be my first time at the London Stadium. I'm hoping it's going to be as good an occasion as it was for everyone last year when we won 2-0. And we're also going to touch back on the Watford game too. And if we've got time, we'll also touch on some transfer news and see what's going on in that crazy world. So first of all, two of your favourites on the show today. We've got here in his kimono. It's none other than the delightful and the whimsical Sam. How you doing, Sam?
I'm doing good. There might be a delay going on, but there's never a delay for Dave in my heart right now. My internet might be poor, but my love for Dave at Crave is very, very strong. I'm doing good. I am in my comfort wear. It's late here. That's the reality of it. So you guys, okay, I've been doing this for like 3 years. I can wear my comfy robe, and that's okay. Exactly. That's okay. And I'm joined in beautiful company. So I've lit my candles. It's all very sensual here. And I'm ready for a chat with my two very good friends.
Brilliant. And we're also joined by Mark. Mark's a regular contributor on our Discord channel. We'll put a little link in the pod details and instructions on how to join. And he's been providing some seriously good statistics in our WhatsApp group recently. So we're hoping he brings some of that to the podcast. So how are you today, Mark?
Doing very well, thanks, Dave. I don't quite have my kimono on, but I decided I wanted to look like, a chocolate bar made of mint. So there we go. Got the away kit on, proud and loud, and to chat about all things Fulham. So let's go.
Brilliant. So I guess we should start by touching on Watford on Thursday night, and it was a really great result in the FA Cup. A nice, comfortable 4-1 home win. It's quite rare, really, that we get the opportunity to say that. But I thoroughly enjoyed the game, and we obviously now progress to the next round. We got the news last night that we'll play either Wigan or was it Mansfield? I think it was Mansfield.
Mansfield, yeah.
Yeah, Wigan or Mansfield in the next round. So yeah, another game against a team in the lower leagues. Mark, what was your thoughts on the Watford game? How did you see it?
I was actually a little bit surprised by the lineup. Surprised in a good way, because I believe when you look at it, yes, we had a few people come in. We had Cesc come in, who doesn't usually start. We had Benda in goal. But by and large, it was quite strong. And I like that. I understand sometimes you want to rest players and you want to give the youth a go, but I think we should also make a go of going as far as we can in the cup. So yeah, good lineup. I was there at Craven Cottage. Really enjoyed it. Was comfortable. We looked strong. We can talk about it in a little bit more depth when we're talking about the goals. But all in all, a very enjoyable experience.
And Mark, did you sit in the Riverside like a lot of the other season ticket holders did? Took the opportunity to get the £20 ticket and to have a bit of comfort for the evening. Did you take that opportunity, or did you?
I should have, but no. I'm a creature of habit, so I stayed in the Johnny Haynes. I got slightly more central. I'm usually in C, and I got tickets in E, so that was quite nice. But I have visited the Riverside once before when we were playing. I think we got smashed in the first half by Arsenal 3-0, and then I think the scoreline just stayed that way. But yeah, it's nice, and I've heard it's gotten better and it's really opened up. So were you there, Dave, or?
No, I didn't. I couldn't make Thursday, so I'm quite excited about getting to West Ham tomorrow, though, to make up for it. But I was really pleased with the result, and I've caught up with as much of the game as I could. Sam, you've obviously caught up with it too. What was your thoughts on Thursday evening?
Yeah, look, okay. We were saying before we actually went online, it's really nice to see us dominate a team that we should have dominated. To be fair, though, Watford did have a really, really cracking goal. I can fully give them that. But it was just great to see a really comfortable win, really convincing win. It's great to see Anderson get a goal. There's a lot of positives. And yeah, it's just really, really nice. I think my mood is very optimistic, because so many times have we gone into these games and we've gone, well, we should put this away. And then it's been way more competitive than it ever has any right to be. It's just nice for me to go in with a comfortable expectation and to see a battering, because who doesn't want to see that who doesn't want to see that on your evening? It's just nice, you know?
Well, there's always the risk when you play the lower teams. They treat it like their cup final for the day, and you could succumb to a defeat to a minnow. Now, Watford aren't really a minnow, but they are a league below us, and I think we made them look like a team that was a league below us on the evening, which was great to see. Let's talk about the goals. I thought, obviously, we scored first. We broke the deadlock through Rodrigo Muniz. A fantastic finish, came out of absolutely nowhere. Ball into the box by Adama, and he just kind of swiveled and hit it first time. It reminded me a little bit like a goal Rao scored earlier in the season. I think it was against Newcastle, where he did a very similar kind of twist turn finish, and it took him by surprise. He had space. He had a bit too much space, I think, in the box from a Watford perspective to do so, but you can't knock it. I mean, it's a hell of a finish. Your thoughts, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely loved it. Funny enough, this is how karma shuts you up. But Adama was running down that wing, right, and he'd be very, very fast, and then he'd do this thing that always frustrates me: is he would slow it down, right, and he would try and pick out his cross. I'm like, just hit it first time, hit it while they're unprepared, and then we have a huge opportunity to score. And mid sentence, as I was complaining that he slowed it down again, he puts through an amazing cross straight to Rodrigo's feet, right? Who then swivels and smashes it in. So that's a lesson, and I think they call it commentators cursing when you're criticizing something that's happening and then you get shut up. But great cross. I can understand why, but I think you're right. Watford did give Muniz a little bit too much space. Maybe they should have closed down Traore, knowing he would slow down. But I feel like this is part of Marco's strategy. He seems to be very intent on us maintaining possession and creating clear chances and not going full pelt at the break. But what did you guys think?
Yeah. Sam, I mean, did you want to jump in there?
I was just going to say, it's just such expert analysis. I can't cook as well as Mark does. I'm not really sure what I'm adding to this today, aside from my kimono. I'm trying to think of an obscure reference because that's what I'm currently being known for. I'm going to try and find a way to work Midnight in Paris because I watched that very, very recently. And I had an enjoyable time, similarly to watching the highlights for this game. And just similarly to just listening to Mark, because Mark really knows his shit. How good is Mark? Dave, how good is Mark that we have?
Oh, he's fantastic. It's great to have him on board. And it's, the team's just getting stronger and stronger, isn't it, Sam? It must be great for you to see as one of, the family, as the founders of That's So Craven, just to see it grow.
I as an executive board member, it fills my heart with so much delight just to see the community grow and just have such strong recruits. Our youth team is so fertile right now. We've got Dave, we've got Nick, we've got Mary. I mean, there's stars of tomorrow that are just shining today.
Brilliant. So you mentioned it before, Sam, about the goal that Watford scored, and it was a great finish. I guess the question I've got is, yes, I think Lukic probably gets turned a bit too easily, which gives the guy the space. But, am I being harsh? Should Bender have done a little bit better? I mean, for me, it doesn't exactly go in like the top corner. What's your thoughts?
I like Bender. I have a real I don't know, I've kind of got a bit of a weird soft spot for him. Maybe that's not necessarily the sagest wisdom on my behalf, but there's something I really like about him being from the exact same town as Leno and him just kind of following Leno's footsteps. The romanticism of that I quite like. So I kind of want to give it to Watford and just say that was a goal that was never going to be stopped in any way, and I'm going to give Bender the free pass on that because he took an elite level strike. But okay, if we're being very critical, and he probably could have done a little bit better. He's still young. He's still in training. And you know what? It's a 4-1 spanking. I'm not going to be too caught up on that. Lukic a little bit. If anything, I could probably throw a little bit of shade that way because he did kind of seem to be a bit of a headless chicken. But again, a 4-1 win. So we could focus on the negatives. But why?
No, I think it's just there's been a lot of question marks about whether Bender's strong enough to be the number 2 in the league. So I just thought I'd ask the question. Mark, do you have a take on it?
I'm with Sam on this. I think Bender, I think those are two separate questions, right? As in, is Bender strong enough in general in the Premier League? I wouldn't really say so. Could be a bit harsh. I'm just a punter, right? That's trying to do a podcast and have my opinion. But that shot, I think that shot doesn't come off if you do it another 20 times. Maybe three are on target and 1 beats the keeper. I think also it's really difficult for Bender, trying to play devil's advocate here a little bit, because he has nothing to do all game. I think he had one more good opportunity against him. And imagine you have to be on it. And that's an elite goalkeeper, right? The guys that, your Allisons and your Edersons and maybe Martinez a bit less so because maybe Villa get attacked a bit more. But to be ready and on it for the 2 chances the opposition get a game, I think that's really, really tricky.
Right. We're just friends now. I know we have an agenda, but I want to ask key questions because that's what I like doing when my friends are on with me. Because I do actually think it's a good question because I'm not sure about you guys. I think that we definitely need a backup goalkeeper because I completely agree with Mark. I don't think Bender's up to scratch in terms of being a Premier League quality goalkeeper. And I do think that as much as I love Leno, and I do love Leno, and we all love Leno, and I think he's a fantastic keeper. He is on the older side, and I know that's something that doesn't necessarily present that much of a problem, especially in goalkeepers. But I think it probably might be worth looking at somebody and maybe spending some money, especially if we're thinking about things like Europe, on maybe another quality keeper that could probably work alongside Leno and kind of share the load. I'm fascinated on yours two's perspective on this. I pose the question to the group.
I agree. I think that it was surprising that we let Rodak go and didn't replace him in the summer.
I like Rodak, so that's why.
Yeah. But I do feel a little bit vulnerable if Leno was to get injured. And I was hoping it might be addressed in this window, but there's just 0 rumours about us doing so. So we just got to fingers crossed and hope that Leno is injury and suspension free, I think, until the summer, unless there's going to be a surprise or 2 at the end of the window.
If somebody was to come in, would you want them to directly try to look to take Leno's spot, or would that hurt you inside, or would you be quite happy for us to really start exploring that as an option? Because I quite like Machiavelli at the moment, and Machiavelli says in times of peace you should always be preparing for war, and I feel like that's what we should be doing. I feel that we should be looking to strengthen as much as physically possible, so then when the time comes, no one's going to take our village.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah, it's you look at what Spurs have done this window. They've got an injury to Vicario, and they had Fraser Forster covering, but they weren't satisfied. So they've gone out and spent, I think, 12 million on another keeper, and he's played the last 2 games. He hasn't let in a goal, I don't think. So, he's a young guy, but he's been playing at a top level club, I think, and he looks the part. So someone that can be that's younger, that can potentially compete with Leno, not necessarily to take his place now, but certainly to compete with him over the next couple of years, I think would be a good move. Mark?
Yeah, nail head from Dave. That was pretty much what I wanted to say. Just to add on to that, I think we're very lucky that Leno is not to throw shade, but a boring professional German, right? So what I see is so let me explain myself by what I mean by boring professional German.
Okay.
That means even though even though, yeah, I'm going to get cancelled in a second. Even
Yeah,
though he is a head and shoulders our only pick, he still performs really well. I think he still trains really hard. He still takes it really seriously. How many times have we seen with Mitro that he had no real competition? So he could have an off day. He's starting every time, right? I feel sometimes we've seen that with AP. He can have a bad day. He can have a bad string of games. Marco's still going to start him most of the time unless there's something horrific that happens, right? So I think we're very lucky that, one, Leno hasn't had an injury, but two, that he still performs at a very high level, even though in the back of his head, hopefully he's not even thinking it, but he thinks, I start every week. So, if I have a bad game, oh well. But I think he really cares about his craft and his reputation and his participation as part of the leadership group. So we're very fortunate for that. But to echo what Dave said, we need someone to come in at a higher level than Bender. Maybe Bender is very skillful as a shot stopper, but with a bit more experience, right? So he's always switched on, always looking for those counterattacks, and has played as a first team member, with perhaps the goal to move in and really challenge from next season, to spend 6 months learning, and then next season really challenge, and the season after that, hopefully take on the mantle.
Dave, when you were explaining your case before, there was a sadness in your eyes. Do you have a particular fondness and love for Leno? I felt connotatively there was a bit more weight on there. Do you want to unpack that a little bit? This is safe space.
I guess I'm a big Leno fan, like everyone else is. I think it's more just the vulnerability of only having one kind of goalkeeper that's played at the top level that I feel about our situation at the moment, and the lack of transfer news just slightly concerns me. But I think I might have been being a little bit harsh, pointing out that Leno maybe could have done a bit better for the goal. I think it was a cracking strike, and I'm happy to leave it there on that one and give him the benefit of the doubt and move on to what was actually a really good second half. And there was loads of good performances. I see Carl Dutton in the comments has mentioned Sessegnon with the most touches inside the box. Sessegnon obviously got man of the match, which I'm sure everyone was pleased to see. But there was also a lot of good performances out there. I think it would be we have to mention Andreas Pereira, who's obviously been under the subject to quite a lot of transfer speculation at the moment, and he had the armband on the day and put in a fantastic shift, and we saw some great performances off the bench too. Mark, what was your thoughts on the second half?
Yeah, glad it turned out the way it did. It was comfortable, but it's always easier to say it was comfortable in hindsight, right? When you're going in 1-1, you're like, well, I mean, we have dominated, but we all know how that story ends sometimes in the league. Yeah, great to see so many names on the goal sheet as well. So second half, very controlled, very composed. I'm a big fan of Martial Godo, so I want to give him a shout out. I think his story is incredible from non-league, and I think Margate, and then into, I think he went on loan to Wigan, maybe somewhere else in between. But I've always really, really advocated for him to come out, because he has that exuberance and confidence that youth players have, that when they really want to prove themselves. I think Josh King is another fantastic example of that, where they're just not afraid to have a pop. And I think that really catches defensive players off guard, because they will have been coached. Fulham always passes the ball. Fulham always plays triangles. They're going to go wide. Then they're going to cross it in. Then someone's going to try and get on the other. And then you just have this young kid full of energy just running at you, right? Going, you don't know, like, because your instincts are telling you one thing, but your manager has told you another thing, and you get, I think, a little bit confused in that moment. So it was great to see those two youth players out there, and a thoroughly enjoyable second half.
Yeah, I think it was a great game for the youth guys, because, as I said, once we got the second goal through Rao, the game kind of opened up a little bit more, and Watford weren't kind of pressing us like you would get in a Premier League game. So it gave opportunities, I think, for the young players to come in and kind of establish themselves into the game. Sam, I'm sure you would have been pleased to see Marco give the opportunity to Godot and King on Thursday night.
Yeah, like I'm because we've really struggled for quite a long time to actually bring youth players into the squad. I can actually see the vision a little bit more, and it actually seems a lot more cohesive, and it seems a lot more it seems a lot more streamlined now. I can see even Cess, because like Cess is still young. The way in which Silva's creating space for these guys to actually come in and actually have good competitive games and actually be put in games where they can be confident and actually, as Mark said, have pops at goal and actually have those moments to shine, I think is really, really, really important. Because if they're constantly coming on in like the 80th minute when we're a couple goals down, it doesn't really matter anymore. You can try to make a splash, but it's a bit of an unfair way to start. I don't want to say start your career because that's the way that everybody just has to. But it's nice to see them actually kind of thriving and just be put in really, really fertile ground. I think Silva's really starting to get that really, really nicely down. I did want to shout out Andreas Pereira a little bit though, and a deeper conversation, because as we've already established, I'm just going to do whatever I want here tonight. So Andreas had 100 games. Now I think I'm not sure if it was this game he did 100 games or the game beforehand, and he was wearing the armband, as we've previously established. I threw it out to you guys in the group chat, just be like, what do we think about this? Because captain season football for me is it's a bit of a weird one. It used to be something very, very sacred, and now it's a little bit more liberal, and it's been passing around at all times. And Jack made a very, very good point and said Andreas now, I mean, there's very few Fulham players at the moment that are more Fulham than he is. I know I still kind of think of him as the Man U prospect, but he pretty much is the Fulham guy at the moment. I can't really think of too many other players at the moment that are as cemented in the club. I just wanted to get you guys' 2 cents on that. And if you think he's a worthy captain, that's really what I'm asking.
Wow, you're absolutely right to bring this up, and I think Andreas has been subject to quite a lot of criticism over the course of the season, and there's obviously an ongoing transfer saga. Palmeiras in Brazil are bidding to try and get Andreas to come and join them this window. And we also, if you go back to the Tottenham game at the end of November, or the start of December, I think it was the 1st of December, wasn't it? The start of December, where Andreas was left out the team after the interview, which he was talking about other clubs being interested in him. He's really reacted well, I think, to that being left out the team that day. I think we've seen a real change in his attitude, and he's really trying to establish himself as a player who cares about the club and almost like rebuild some of the bridges from maybe the damage that interview might have caused. You're also now starting as a Thursday night to see some, better performances too. So I think the reaction from Andres has been excellent. And you're also right that he's played 100 games. That's a significant amount of time. And I think Marco has seen him as a bit of an on the pitch leader. I don't think it was any surprise that when Andreas was dropped for that Tottenham game, Robinson was moved to captain instead of Leno, because Andreas was really performing as the on the pitch leader for us while Leno was the captain. So when Pereira was taken out of the team, Robinson took over as the captain, has kind of established himself in that role ever since. But now AP is back in, with this much better attitude. And, I think Marco now trusts him to give him the armband. And I think it also probably says to the people that want to sign Andreas this window that he's a very key player, and you're going to have to pay top dollar if you want to take him. And equally, I think it says to the board that if we are to let him go, Marco's saying, I'm going to need a quality replacement because he's a very important player for Fulham.
Mark?
Yeah, I mean, Dave once again has absolutely nailed it. I agree, especially post Tottenham. And I really appreciate it as a fan to see this, right? To see him like post on social media. If you haven't seen his social media, I'm not on Snap, but on Instagram, he posts stuff, or other Fulham football players post things like I think Calvin Bassey did with the Man I Love Fulham shirt. So I'll let you guys figure out the acronym there for those who haven't seen it. And I think that shows that he does care, right? Because if you didn't care, you'd slag off whatever your coworker or your workspace or something like that, and then you just let it die down, right? You wouldn't continue doing it because you would have been told off, but you would just be quiet. But he's really made a concerted effort over a period of time to show that he is invested in the club, and at the very least that shows respect. But it seems quite genuine from what I'm able to observe. Captaincy material. Nice to see him get the armband. Understand that he's one of Marco Silva's main men. I still prefer Robinson. I know Robinson. I've never seen Robinson angry, which for me is like it's a sign of a very mature, clever player. That even when the stakes are very high and you've seen your good friend, whatever, take a horrendous foul, right? You're still not shouting in the face of the referee. You can compose yourself. And I think that's who I'd like to represent my club. I'm not saying Pereira is like that at all. I just say on balance, if I could pick a captain, I've been very, very impressed with what I've seen from Robinson. But I think he did a fantastic job against Watford, AP that is. I think we should give him his flowers for that. He really, you could see the effort. He was running back. He was going into challenges and winning the ball back. He wasn't getting frustrated and trying to play Hollywood passes, as we so often say. He was really, really good on the day. So hopefully more of that, calm it down. Sometimes look for the safe option. But yeah, he did well.
Yeah. No, there was, and as I say, there's quite a lot of good performances in that second half. We've mentioned Godot. We haven't touched too much on King, but wow, what a talent he is. I think we're going to start seeing more and more of King because I think he's got just this kind of no fear kind of attitude, and he's fantastic on the ball. I think that we might start to see more, not just in the cup games, but actually in the league games. And it's competitive because, when Berger comes back in, you might see him partner Lukic in the center of midfield, which means, we've got to try and fit in Andreas, Emil Smith-Rowe, Wilson. There's lots of players that can play in that 10. But I just think the way King is kind of performing in his opportunities, I think he's, starting to knock on that door at least for a position off the bench. Mark, what did you think about him on Thursday? Did you think he took his opportunity?
Not only did I think he did great, I even saw on the Watford Instagram, they said get that King kid on loan. He's fantastic, and you can see it in the highlights as well. I think he goes through 2 or 3 players by himself in the box and then gets a shot off. Okay, it wasn't a goal, but I mean, that's exciting, beautiful football to watch. And at the end of the day, we also want to be entertained, right? So what a talent. We need to, I hate to mention these guys, but we need to do a Chelsea and give him an 8-year. If we can't structure it as an 8-year contract, we can do 5+3 or something silly like that. Like this, he is so exciting and great to watch. And I might have to get a King shirt next year. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, I'm actually kind of fascinated by this because, I mean, Fulham for the longest time has been great youth development and then immediately sold to a bigger club. I mean, off the top of my head, we're looking Harvey Elliott, we're looking Carvalho, and then also Cess as well. I don't know how to necessarily keep these guys. Love the idea that they want to stick around with Silva and really see the project out. I'll be so upset actually if we lose Josh King for all the reasons that we've already said. But I just think for the type of profile of player that he is, he really fits the squad. Like, I mean, I'll say it in an unpopular way. I think he fits the squad way more than somebody like Kearney does at the moment, because I can see so much space for Josh I mean, if it's not playing further up, I can really see him in a center mid pairing with either Lukic or Berger, or like I can see so many places where he can go and actually be really, really useful and not really mess with the ecosystem too much. So I really, really want to keep him around. I don't really fully know how to keep him around. I hope us having European aspirations and hopefully attaining them realistically within the next year or so, I'm hoping that'll be enough. And I think Silva's doing the right thing by actually finding space for him in games like this and actually giving him a good opportunity. But Yeah, I never really know how to keep guys like these because I mean, football is football. All it takes is a bad manager, whispering sweet nothings in your ear, and then you go to a starting position at a club like Birmingham or whatever, and then your career just tanks. So I really hope that doesn't happen to Josh, but you never really know. You never really know. It's difficult bureaucracy.
So there's one advantage that we do have. I'm on Instagram far too much, as my wife will tell you. But Tom Kearney posted something really, really lovely from Josh King. So obviously, Josh King, there's that story where he was a mascot holding, Kearney's hand, and now he's playing on the first team. So he created sort of like a mini vision board, what he wanted to do and improve as a footballer. So have you guys seen this?
No.
I'll throw it in the group chat. It's really, really nice. And so he says, my two favorite football players in the world are one, Tom Kearney, and two, Neymar Jr. And Tom goes like, that's good company to be in. So, I think he does actually have a fair bit of love for the club. Does that mean we'll hold on to him forever? Probably not, right? Like if you get a Bayern Munich or one of the really, not even one of the top, but like a Dortmund or someone like quite impressive coming for you, like he would be tempted.
100%.
But, if we could just hold on to him for a few more years and be like, you have Silva who's starting you play for the Prem, we're going to give you a good salary. You're going to stay with, you don't have to leave London. You're going to stay with your mentor and idol Tom Kearney for a few years. I think that could buy us a few years. And then, if, you're still going to be valuable at 22, 23.
Joe would also be amazing as well if Kearney gave him the 10. That'd be poetry. That would be poetry.
Starting to tear right now.
What a narrative. I think that we only have to show him, what's happened to Fabio Carvalho as well recently. He left, as we all know, to go to Liverpool, and he's now at Brentford. He's barely getting a game. He played in the FA Cup the other day. Apparently, he was absolutely awful as Brentford lost at home to Plymouth, which I thought I'd like to mention. There wasn't too many shocks this round, but that was the best one to see that one come through. But yeah, we could show him Fabio's story, and we could show him as well, I think, Sessegnon's story too. And Sess, tell him how different it is when you move to the top teams. It's hard to get into their 11 and establish yourself, and he'd be better off staying at Fulham and establishing himself here, I think. Right, so yeah, I mean, 3 good goals in the second half. One was a penalty from Rao. I mean, God, he knows how to take a penalty, doesn't he? I don't think I've ever been so confident in a player on lining up for a penalty that he just feels like he's always going to score. So yeah, another good penalty from Rao, and then 2 goals from 2 players that don't score a lot of goals. First goal since he's returned for Joachim Andersen. Another goal from a corner we have to mention too. There was a lot of criticism around that recently, and we've started to get a few more from corners, which is great. And a goal from Timmy Castagna, a fantastic header after a good ball from Godot. So yeah, all in all, a fun day was had, and as I said at the start, we've got another kind draw, I think, albeit away from home, to the winner of Wigan versus Mansfield, where we will be the favourites, and it does enable us again to, bring in some players who might not be featuring in the 11 in the Premier League, to get another outing. And still hopefully have enough to get through to the 5th round. Is that how you see it, Mark? Are you pleased with that draw?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's always cool when you face a team from a different league, right? For them as well. When you have like maybe a League One team where a Leyton Orient gets to play Arsenal, like that's pretty cool for Leyton Orient fans, right? You get to go and see all these amazing players out, and then I hope your team can do well. And it's cool for us as well to face like non-similar league oppositions. Oh, we're gonna go, the Etihad away. Great, that's fun. So we got that draw a few times. So yeah, excited. Hopefully we can do well. It's going to be a big game for them as well. Also, shout out to Cuenca. I think he didn't really do anything wrong, which is what you want in a defender. And you could see even when we won the penalty, he was animated. He was cheering on Joa when he scored. He was happy when we got the penalty, and I think it must be tough for him being on the bench. But just wanted to give him a shout out. Say we're quite blessed that we have. While we're talking about we don't have a backup goalkeeper that we have any real confidence in. I think we can be confident in all 4 of our center backs. So I think that's super cool. But a great draw for us, and on to the next. Hopefully after that.
100% agree. I did just want to shout out as well. I'm not sure about you guys, but I just really like all of our centre backs. We don't really have a centre back that I don't like. Even Diop, the big beautiful tree. There's something majestic about a big beautiful tree. And we've spoken about the other ones, but I think you're 100% right to shout out Cuenca. He just seems like a really lovely boy. He just seems like a really, really, really lovely Spanish boy, and I really, really like that in my rotation players. Really happy to be there. Got a lot of energy. Seems absolutely lovely. Want to have him around for as long as possible.
Absolutely. So great opportunity in the FA Cup to have another good run, and but I think it's probably important now that we look ahead to tomorrow night's game against West Ham, who have got a new manager. We seem to run into teams just as they've appointed a new manager. So fortunately, they have played once with Graham Potter in the cup, and they lost to Aston Villa. But they did go ahead away from home 1-0 and ended up losing 2-1. So hopefully that new manager bounce, the wind has been taken out of its sails, because it always, when I was looking at this game before they sacked Lopetegui, I was thinking we've got a real opportunity here. The way West Ham are playing and the way that we're playing away from home, I could see us winning this game. But it does just add a little bit of an element of doubt when a new guy comes in. How do you feel about that, Sam?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's especially with like the lower league clubs. I'll be honest, I haven't really been like intensely following West Ham season, so I'm probably not the best person to ask this. But I mean, there will be gaining momentum. It's a shift in the dressing room, and typically when you've had I don't want to say toxic or anything, but when when you're rid of that kind of environment where a manager is pretty much on their way out, players have a lot more freedom because new managers come in and really they just play with a lot more vitality, because that's really all that they can do at that stage, because they're still learning a new system. So I do kind of fear that, and it's very similar to what Mark was saying before when it comes to players like Goto. We're going to be playing a completely different West Ham, so it's very, very hard to speculate because I don't really know what they're going to be throwing at us. I know Kudus is a fantastic player, truly, truly incredible talent. I'd love to sign him one day. And they have been a bit of a bogey team for us over the past couple of years. So, I mean, I can hope, but I can say with a lot more assurance that we are the better team. The beauty of football is I'm not really sure how much that means. But I can confidently go in there and say that we are the better team and we should be able to win convincingly. Whether that will happen or not, that's all just down to the beautiful narrative of the beautiful game. That's my take.
I agree. I think it'd be interesting. Both teams have had have started to announce who's going to be available tomorrow. We saw earlier that West Ham did pick up a few injuries in the game in midweek, and in addition to Jared Bowen and Michail Antonio, who'd already been ruled out for this one. Somerville came off injured. He's just started to get into the team and look really good. And I think they've got a few injuries in defence as well, Emerson and Todibo. So they're a little bit depleted, particularly up front. And I think that gives us an opportunity. And Jack has been ever so kind in jumping into the comments to give us the update from Marco Silva, who went live at a similar time to us with his team news for tomorrow. And it sounds like Burgess a maybe. Muniz is available, which is great because, of course, he came off against Watford with a back injury at halftime. bad news in a way that it says Tete is out till April, which is a lot longer than we all expected. But not great news at all. But we didn't expect him tomorrow. Mark, how do you think that we're going to line up? Do you think it's time to, go back to the 4 at the back like we saw against Watford? Or do you think Marco's going to opt to try and continue the 5? What's your feeling?
We know Marco Silva is a genius. That's the first fact. We also know he's very stubborn. So it would not surprise me if he stuck with 5 at the back. However, I would really like to see 4. I'd like to see us maximize our offense. And why I say that is because you mentioned there's a lot of injuries. And another thing to note is that they got very lucky the first time we played them, first game of the season, right? Danny Ings, whatever. Maybe it was our throw and it was their throw and something like that. We switched off. They got a goal right at the death of the game, which was painful, right? But another key moment that I think maybe we've forgotten as time went by is Max Kilman did a blatant shove right in back of Adama Traore's shirt, just as he was running on goal with the ball, right?
Yeah.
There is something very, very wrong with our refereeing if that happens 2 games in a row. So I don't think we switch off in the 90. Hopefully we don't in the 90th minute plus. I don't think they get a blatant pen ruled in their favor. And they're missing. This was a team that I thought would finish top 6 as the season started. Nicholas Fulkrug, Crescencio Somerville, Mohamed Kudus, Jared Bowen. That is terrifying. Lucas Paqueta. These players are all fantastic, but half of them are crocked because of bad luck or maybe their medical team hasn't quite got something right. So I really hope we go 4 at the back, and I hope we hit them hard, right? And this is something I actually quite like about West Ham fans. West Ham fans are very noisy, very energetic. They, as every football fan should, believe their team is the best team in the world. They're going to be on their back to attack. They're not going to be happy watching a defensive West Ham at the Olympic Stadium. So we need to, and I think this is where we're great, right? At the transition, we need to understand what the atmosphere is like, right? And we need to build on that and really take it to them. So I hope we have 4 at the back. I hope we see those beautiful diagonals from Anderson onto the wing, whoever's there. And I'm hoping for, a good scoreline in our favor.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's interesting you mentioned the decision against on Traore in the first game. I'd forgotten about that. It was a huge moment in the game. It should have been a red card. And Jim's made a great point in the comments too. Do we ever get decisions against West Ham? Do you remember all the game a couple of seasons ago where there was about 3 handballs away at the London Stadium?
Antonio volleyball strike.
It's painful. So surely we're due a little bit of luck at this ground, and we did get that last year, but we made our own luck last year. We outplayed them and we won 2-0. Andres Pereira with the 2 goals, and I think that the Tide might take some confidence with that. Sam, I just wanted to get your view on the situation with 4 at the back, 5 at the back. Are you like myself and Mark? Are you thinking it's got to be 4 at the back? Move back to that formation and attack West Ham.
I think it has to go back to that. I mean, whether it will is completely speculative to me. I think the past couple of days have past couple of games have proven to me that in theory it can work. I mean, we beat Chelsea with it, so no one can ever really take that away from me, and no one can ever really take that away from Silva. But I think you have to judge it game by game, and I think this is a game that requires 4 at the back. It requires a lot more attention on those wings. Even if Castagna isn't necessarily as strong as somebody like Tete defensively, I still want him there, and I want him and Anderson and Bassi and Robinson to be very, very locked into that, and us to, I see that working better than a 5 at the back system, because I think that just makes us vulnerable and allows more to come forward. The thing actually that really threw me is so we keep saying Marco's a genius. And I've just heard it so many times now that I almost just want some new synonyms, like Marco's an artist, Marco's a maestro. I get this thing where like I hear something too many times and it starts to bug me. So I'm this close to banning Marco as a genius because we're creative guys. Like I've listened to Mark this entire podcast say some fantastic things. Mark, you can do better than Mark as a genius. You can wax lyrical. I've heard you do it all day. You're better than Marco as a genius. So yeah, 4 at the back. I like it. I prefer that to 5 at the back. Is that a sufficient answer? I'm gonna stick with that. Yeah, that sounds good.
No, it was a good answer. I think, I think we always just feel that we need to caveat things when we disagree with Marco that he's a genius, just so that we don't upset.
But why? He's not listening. He's not here.
Everyone listens to the That's So Craven pod, Sam. All right, they play it in the changing rooms before the game, and we don't want him to feel like that we don't respect him and acknowledge him. Okay, which we do.
I respect you, Marco Silva. I respect
in Marco
you.
We trust.
Yes, exactly. So yeah. So I think I think it's got to be a back four, and I do think that Diop will be unfortunately the guy that makes way, because Anderson has started to feature more over the last few games since he's come back from injury, and Diop was the guy that came off against Ipswich when things weren't going so well. So midfield, Berger being a maybe suggests to me that he'll either be on the bench or not in the squad at all. Rarely when Marco said a player's a maybe does he end up in the first 11. So I would be surprised if he plays. I think that we'll probably see Andreas alongside Sasa in midfield. And then moving further forward to that, I don't think there'll be too many changes, but I'd be interested to hear your guys' thoughts. I suspect Raul will still feature. Awobi and Wilson, I think, will keep their places. The number 10, though, is really interesting. Is it a game for Smith Rowe? Has King done enough? What do you think, Sam?
Well, if just in terms of the pageantry, I do kind of want to see Traore start, just so essentially he can get some sweet revenge, and he can come off after 10 minutes. But I mean, have you ever seen The Longest Yard? When they have that, I'm pretty sure it's Goldberg who just wrecks him in tackles, and that's the only thing he comes on to do, just completely wreck people. Kind of want to see Traore do that, and then just come off directly after and just be like, I've done my bit, now I can bugger off. So that would be nice. I mean, to be honest, and if I'm speaking a little bit more professionally here, if you have Traore on, you can also put Wilson into that 10 position, which I'm actually not opposed to. And Wilson's kind of done enough for me to facilitate that. But I think I wouldn't hate to see Josh King there. I really, really wouldn't hate to see Josh King there, because he would be sufficiently supported and then really be able to actually have a pretty interesting game. That's the fan in me. I think the conservative in me probably says you need to start Smith Rowe. Smith Rowe as well. We are as much as we can be annoyed and frustrated with it, and we did this with Sas Lukic. It's kind of part of the Silver system. We do have to give him time. We have to let the soil set on Smith Rowe. We have to really give him time to flourish, and that actually requires giving him minutes. And I think we have to give him minutes. It's not even about investing the amount of money. It's just there is a player there. The only hesitation that I have is currently on form and in terms of exuberance. I think there's a better player in Josh King to an extent. Don't quote me on that. But I think you have to start Smith Rowe. I do think you have to start Smith Rowe. I'm interested on your guys' take on it, though.
No, I think it's a good thought there. Mark, what were your thoughts on the attacking lineup?
Yeah, I mean, everything you guys said makes sense. I guess we're assuming AP still in the 8. I guess we're gonna pigeonhole him there until Berger is fully fit. We'll see. But I agree that Smith Rowe should start. We have been patient with AP when he hasn't been performing. We've been patient with Lukic. These things take time. And I still fully believe that we can see it. We know the ability is there. Right? For the second penalty that we got against Ipswich, that move, that vision from the outside of the boot of Smith Rowe straight to Raul, so Raul can play for the pen. The ability is there. The vision is there. The work rate probably needs to be improved. And I just need him to get his head up, right? And I don't think it's not like he doesn't believe. I think he does, but he needs that arm around his shoulder to say, hey, you're a talented player. Go out there, express yourself. If it doesn't come off, we're still going to give you time. We're still going to put you in the lineup. We're still going to let you, shine. So yeah, I'd like to see Smith Rowe on there. I don't think he's the kind of player that would respond well. I know it's weird to say this, but I don't think he's going to respond well to being dropped. Then I think it's going to make it worse, right? Even though we work on a merit-based system, which we should, right? But he, I feel, is a bit more fragile than someone like Wilson who bounced back, right? We're like, why is he in the team? He's like, he should have shone by now. Like, maybe we can get rid of him for like 10, 12, right? Make some money back, put it in someone else. He's popped up. He's been the super sub, and he's responded well to adversity, like we've said before on this pod. But ESR, I think he'll unfortunately probably get in his own head and really spiral if we just say, you're not even on the bench or you're not even starting.
Yeah, I think it's great points on Smith Rowe. And, I think that unless Burgess fit, because if Burgess fit to start, then I think he does start. And I think he starts alongside Lukic. And then you've got a decision between probably Andreas and Smith Rowe. I hear Sam's point on King. I wonder if it's still a bit early for him to start a game, but especially with those two in front of him in that one role. But I think if Berger isn't fit, as I suspect, enough to start, then I think that AP will stay there just because we don't really have anyone else other than Kearney. And I think AP's probably ahead of him, particularly after his performance on Thursday. So then you're talking about who plays in the 10. And I think you've made some great points. I think it's, we need to stick with Smith Rowe. We need to give him opportunities to kind of play himself into some form and get used to the Marco system. And if he doesn't perform, we know that we've got this young kid on the bench who's fearless and will come on and change the game. And that's quite exciting too, I think it's
100%.
exciting to have a strong bench. Lots of players we can call upon on Thursday if we need them.
Yeah, it's also as well. It's one thing to have a good bench; it's another thing to have a hungry bench. Because I mean, these are guys who are genuinely, really fighting for their positions and really, really fighting for a place in the squad. I mean, if it's not Traore, it's as we've established, it's Gatto, and if it's not Gatto, it's King, and if it's not King, it's even players like say for example, everybody's fit. I know everyone isn't going to be fit, but if everyone's fit, in my opinion, you're probably starting Pereira in that 10 role, because I actually have a bit more confidence in him, and then therefore that makes Smith Rowe hungry. And I can't remember like the last time we actually had that much desire coming from the bench. It's I think it's a really, really important, very underappreciated thing, because well, it's back to the Leno point. Unfortunately, we have a good German professional that will always do the job, but when there's complacency in a position, of course, there's not necessarily going to be that. That complacency comes from no one pushing you and no one that has fire underneath you trying to raise your level. And I'm really, really glad we've got that very healthy kind of everybody's pushing each other because everybody's wanting their position. And it's not set in stone. I think if it was set in stone, then we might have some issues. But it really is a meritocracy at the moment. And I think that's a really, really good and healthy thing.
Yeah. So I'm going to push you for a prediction now. Mark, how do you think, what's the score going to be tomorrow night?
Oh, man, every time I get asked for a prediction, I say something silly and then we lose. So I almost want to go with a loss just to hedge myself, But I think I'm still going to go with 3-1. I think, especially because the 3 is for us. We're going to win 3-1. Especially because they're out Tobito as well. I think that's going to hurt, and Emerson. I don't know if it's going to be Fabianski or Areola in goal. Fabianski's getting old. I think he must be late 30s now. He's proper old, but he's still good. And Areola, we had him. He's a good shot stopper as well. But I think we have enough to beat them, and I think we're going to be clever about it. I hate to give them credit, but Forest are flying this season. But I think we should do something a little bit like them, right? To understand, we're at the Olympic Stadium. The fans are going to be on their back. They're going to be expected to dominate and to push. Just hit them on the transition every time. Be clinical. So I hope, 3-1. The one, because we always, there's always one screw up that we give them. So and if Kudus is clinical, then he'll finish it.
Love that prediction. Sam, yours?
I think I'm going to go. I said 2-1 on the last couple of pods, which I know shouldn't actually have an effect, but I do think it does feel very 2-1. Actually, no, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 3-2, but a competitive 3-2. Not. I think the tide will change, and I think it might even be something like we score. I think it could be something like we score 2 and then we score 3, and then they get either, maybe they score in the first half and then get a consolation goal. Like I feel that they get last goal of the game, but it's not going to be enough. That's what I think is going to happen.
Okay, so I agree. I think we're going to win, and by you taking 3-2 enables me to take 2-1. So I'm going to go 2-1 to Fulham. We might even come back from behind in this one. I'm going to throw out there. Yeah, a little bit extra. So, but yeah, I do fancy us. I just think we've got more than them, and I think they might struggle due to their injuries. That's what I'm hoping anyway. I missed out on the game last year where we won 2-0, so I'm hoping that we can pick up a victory away when I'm there tomorrow. So fingers crossed. Okay, so I think we've done it well. We've put the world to right on Watford, and we're well prepared for West Ham. I think to finish off, I think we should congratulate the Fulham women's team on the FA Cup run that they've had. Unfortunately, that came to an end in front of a crowd at Craven Cottage yesterday. And yeah, just worth pointing out that Jack will be featuring on a special Fulhamish pod with Sammy James today to discuss the FA Cup run. So make sure to check that one out. And I also wanted to do a quick shout out for the pod daddy, who's been rather ill recently, and he's on the road to recovery now. And everyone wants him back on this podcast as soon as possible. Bring a bit of sanity to the proceedings, and we just wish him well. So, yeah, Elton, get well soon, and we're looking forward to having you back soon as possible. So
I can
Sam,
confirm. I can confirm that I actually spoke to him the other day. He has his wits. Yeah. No, like I've got the inside scoop. No, he's resting well. He's on the right trajectory. It's not far away, folks. It's not far away, folks. But if you can keep harassing us for more Elton and just leave in the comments that you're missing the pod daddy, you need him to tuck you in at night, you need him to give you a kiss on the forehead and read you a good bedtime story, I'm sure that will go down very, very well, because, it's a bit like a pantomime situation. He's not going to come out unless you call for him. So if you don't call for him, he can't hear you. And if he can't hear you, I'm not sure if he's going to be there. I don't know. What's that?
Brilliant. Well, no, thanks for the update, Sam, and thanks for joining us today. Is there anything you want to add about tomorrow or about anything? All things Fulham.
Oh, I did actually have a really good question that came through on the Discord that I did want to run by you guys, but I'm not sure if we've got time. Have we got time? Have you guys pressed for time? I'm sure. I
I'm a
think you
little
guys actually are.
Goes
pressed.
for it. We got 5-10 minutes. Not
Go for it. Didn't even
Go on,
care.
if
Why
we,
not?
if we can
People-
do it quickly, then that's cool. I've
Okay,
got to
I
take
just
the dog to the vet in a minute, though.
That's okay. That's okay. He can. I mean, if he's got this far, I don't think it's going to be that crippling. How do you guys feel about like first names and nicknames on the back of shirts? Because that was thrown at me the other day.
I don't know. I think I quite like it. I don't know why though. It's just I see it. I've always thought of it as a Brazilian thing, and yeah, I think that if it's going to start being used by players who aren't Brazilian, I don't really have a major issue with it. What's your thoughts?
Well, isn't it a Brazilian or like if you have a weird relationship with your father kind of thing?
Yeah,
That's how I've always seen it. Yeah.
Jim's
Or
given
both.
a profound no
Or
on the comments, so
It's a very divisive one.
yeah. He knows where he stands on the issue. Mark,
I don't mind it. I think it can get a bit silly. I don't know. I'm an avid video gamer, and some of the names you see out there, you're just like, okay, we can't print that out and have like millions of people see it. But yeah, I mean, if it's a shortening of a name or like a pretty clear nickname, I see no reason why not.
I mean, for me, we're watching grown men run around in shorts. Let's call it what it is. I mean, it is by nature silly. We have a lot of prestige attached to it. You want to put like a name on the back, and that's something that you feel resonates with you, and then you can make it something. I'm okay with that. But I just like to shit stir a little bit. So I just wanted to throw that out to the wider community. It's really triggered Jim. Jim does not like this.
no, but he has said unless Lukic had shithouse on the back of his shirt, and then he'd be quite happy with that. So he's softened. I think we've convinced him otherwise.
Okay. All right.
Mark, do you have anything you want to add before we close off today?
I think we're good. I think that was comprehensive and complete. So always happy to be on, and
I hope so.
Love the kimono from Sam. So long may it continue.
Yeah,
and we go again in a bit.
If we'd have had the memo, we'd have all worn our kimonos, and then it would have been.
I mean, one day we'll just all be shirtless, and then we just won't mention it at all. And then if you don't tune in, then that's on you guys. But you're also not calling for Elton to come back, so no shirtless for you at this stage.
Is that how we're threatening our listeners? Okay.
Yeah,
well, yeah.
The gentle tease.
Yeah. Okay, well, look, last thing from me is just make sure you get there early tomorrow, because I've heard that the security at the London Stadium is a nightmare to get through. So, yeah, everyone's advised to get there early and enjoy a beer in the stadium before the game. So let's hope we can avoid this new manager bounce and come away with another 3 points like we did last year. So thanks to everyone in the chat for joining us and for all your comments. And as always, come on, you whites.
On you whites.